Hi, I'm Ember Conley, your host for Political Peaks. I'm joined today with Devin Thorpe, Democratic candidate for the U.S. House District 3. Welcome to the show.
Well, Ember, it's an honor. Thank you so much for having me.
District 3 is extremely diverse. Of course, it covers parts of our Wasatch County for our Wasatch viewers, but of course then all the way down into southern Utah. How have you managed to get your platform out to all of those types of diverse constituents?
Wow, I'm thrilled that you would ask that question because most people think of the 3rd District as one homogeneous conservative blob, and that's absurd. So I'm thrilled that you recognize the diversity of this district because it is incredibly diverse. And so the simple answer to your question is I have visited every single city, town, and village in the district, and most of them many times. I'm proud to have visited Navajo Mountain, which is the most remote community in Utah, I believe. You can't get there from here. You have to drive 90 miles through Arizona to visit Navajo Mountain. I have been there. And I am proud to have spent time with my Navajo neighbors, if you will, and thrilled to meet people up and down the state throughout that enormous district. I take my little electric car and drive everywhere. It's been just a pleasure, but I'll let you move on. But you're right. There is a lot of diversity, and I have used digital media. I've done little video recordings in every one of these little towns. I visited 36 towns and did a Facebook Live in 36 hours from each of the 36 towns I visited on one weekend. So yes, we've just tried to connect every possible way we could with everyone across this very diverse and very large district.
I think that having going through a pandemic, it's forced us to be able to use technology differently, which in some ways has been a hindrance, of course, to the campaign, I'm sure, but also probably an equalizer of the playing field. I want to talk a little bit about what you call yourself as a social champion, as a champion of social change and really talking about what your platform is of climate change, healthcare, and of course the economy. Because as we're in a fairly Republican state, we're a red state, some of these issues do not resonate necessarily with the majority of voters in Utah. So how are you connecting the dots to your platform issues to the general public?
Well, Congressman Curtis has really set me up for success, and I'm grateful for that because he has already established for everyone in the district that climate change is real and human-caused and must be addressed. But he has repeatedly chosen not to act on climate change. He's voted against every bill that has come forward to the House that was designed to reduce carbon emissions, and he's voted against those. He's voted for several bills that would expand the use of fossil fuels. So what he has done is he's really been kind to help me out this way because he has made it clear climate change is real, requires action, and then he refuses to take the action that's required. So I'm prepared to go take the action that he says is required, and I'm excited to go do that.
One of the issues that you talk about specifically is poverty. And poverty in the state of Utah has not necessarily been an issue that's made headlines, but yet you look at our numbers of children that are receiving free and reduced lunch. You look at our numbers, and you mentioned this specifically on our Indian reservations that really have characteristics of a third world country, which then comes to how is that intertwined with education and healthcare. And I'm interested in, as a policymaker, what policies, at the federal level are you most interested in changing or adding to address these issues?
Well, Dr. Conley, you are an educator, and so you know the power of education, and it is an absolutely necessary, but not a sufficient remedy for poverty, right? Because not everyone can be a doctor, not everyone can be a lawyer, and I don't mean they lack the capability. We just don't need that many doctors. We don't need that many lawyers. Some people have to be plumbers. Some people have to be electricians. And we need people who work in relatively less skilled jobs. So part of what we must do is to ensure that people who work earn a living from their work. And that should be for any job. And in Utah, we have this great tradition that I truly, in my heart, believe in. And that tradition is that we believe in self-reliance. And the principle is true, right? We are happiest as human beings when we can take pride in the work that we do and feel as if we are not dependent on others. Now, of course, you and I know we're all interdependent. That's really the model of how it works. But our psyche is optimized by this sense of self-reliance, and we've got to recognize that too. But of course, the principle of self-reliance means nothing if you can work a full-time job and still live in abject poverty. And that's what's happening in Utah to countless families that, there's a single mom earning $12 an hour with 3 kids. My gosh, she's living in abject poverty with her family. And we just have to fix that, right? We have got to change the situation so that everyone who is working earns at least a living wage. We've got to, strengthen prevailing wage laws. We've got to look at every possible way to restore the dignity and value of work. We'll pull more people into the workforce by making sure that work pays.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that even our full-time working parents sometimes are still at that poverty level. I'm going to shift gears and to conclude our interview and talk a little bit about really the field of candidates. Of course, you're representing the Democratic Party. There's, of course, a Republican candidate, 2 unaffiliated, a United Utah, and then, of course, a Constitution candidate. In a time of conflict with politics and trying to provide that platform of civil discourse, what makes you the best candidate for District 3?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. I think it goes back to the very things we've been talking about, right? The people of the 3rd District want someone who will take climate change seriously. I'm that guy. The people of the 3rd District want someone who will protect public lands and access to them. I'm that guy. The people of the 3rd District want someone who will take initiative to bring federal resources in a COVID response. I'm that guy. The people in the 3rd District want someone who will work on healthcare and protect their access to healthcare, and I'm that guy. People in the 3rd District want and need someone who will address the poverty challenges that are rampant in this district, surprisingly, and I'm that guy.
I want to wish you the best of luck. The next 2 weeks, I'm sure, grueling. Our ballots have been mailed, and I'm sure this is going to be an exhausting time for you. And I want to thank you for joining our show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's truly an honor.
I'm Ember Conley, your host for Political Peaks. Remember to follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Park City TV, on our channels 36 and 102 and 17.